What is going on, everybody? It's Tuesday afternoon, time for some lunch with the Clydesdale. It's a big day here. You know what day it is? It is college football playoff night. Starts off tonight. My beloved Penn State Nittany Lions taking on Boise State, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time tonight in the first game of the 4 quarterfinal matchups to happen tonight and tomorrow. When I was a kid, I loved that my birthday was on New Year's Day and I could just hang out and watch football all day long. And the fact that my Nittany Lions are in the playoffs and they get to play around my birthday, it's my birthday's not till tomorrow. Celebrate tonight, hopefully with a victory. Get to enjoy tomorrow with all that. So super stoked about that. Good afternoon, Corey, Jay Birch, Holly, Jody. What's going on, guys? And happy anniversary, Jay Birch. Today is his 30-year wedding anniversary. I'm getting close, man. I'm right behind you. I am at 27 years, I think, this May. I should probably do the math more. But yeah. Holly says happy anniversary to Jay Birch and an early happy birthday to me. Thank you so much. I'm pretty stoked about it. Got a lot of cool plans for the year. And Corey has made it 6 years. Hey, got to start somewhere, man. I remember those first years, man. Those were probably harder than the later years. So, super stoked for tonight. Hopefully Penn State plays well. Their defense can tackle the best running back in the country. Really stoked about that. I think they can do it. If they can tackle him early, then the game becomes much easier because they are kind of a one-trick pony. But yeah. So really stoked for that. I know I'm saying stoked a lot. I don't know why that's happening. Today's the last day I work for a week because we have some procedures coming up, and I just took a couple days off in between. But yeah, so today's my last work day. So this is my last work lunch hour. We'll do a couple more throughout the week as we kind of finish up the year and start the new one. But I wanted to talk about a few things today. While we were on the air last night with Sunday Night CrossFit Talk on a Monday, which was a great show, lots of participation last night, getting some workouts in on our traveling Gauntlet Style workout. Now they're starting to flow in a little bit more, and you can get your name into the drawing for one of our either water bottles right there. It's got the little pop-up straw on it. It's stainless steel, keeps your drink cold. And it's got the cool Clydesdale Media logo on it. If you can see that there. And we also have the 22-ounce coffee mug, same color, same stainless steel makeup, just a little smaller. So if you win, you get to pick which one of those you want, and we'll get that sent out to you. But we now have a handful of entries into the traveling gauntlet. And if you go back and listen to last night's show at the very end, we get into like much more detail about what we are trying to accomplish here, what we think someone should do, and what like CrossFit should do or some organization should do to get the community to come back together and do some events as a big, large community. But we get into more details about the details of all that and what we're kind of looking for. So make sure to check that out. And it's probably in the last 10 minutes, of the show from last night, if you want to know more about that and how to enter to win one of those prizes. So Judy always needs reminded by Jody. It's nice to have that personal concierge that takes care of you, but is the notifier not working for you, Judy? My notifier didn't work today either. actually, because usually I get a pop-up on this other screen saying that I'm going live, but I didn't get it today. So that's weird. So the main thing I wanted to talk about today is loyalty and where has it gone? And if I'm doing some self-evaluation, I would say that one of my fatal flaws is that I am loyal to a fault. I will hang on for longer than I should, even when things aren't working. So, but because I'm that way, when people aren't loyal, I get upset, and especially when it's with my friends involved. And so, what I want to talk about is last night the barbell spin. Maybe it was last night. I don't know. I'm behind on my Instagram. So 19 hours ago, the barbell spin posted this Instagram where he said no underdogs in the bio, and it's Ricky Garrard's athlete profile on Instagram. And then, the little emoji like this. And so why this affects me so much in this case, I'm going to have to be a little bit talking elite fitness here. And I don't mean to be, but I need to do it for context. So in 2021, I was at the West Coast Classic in Las Vegas. After that was over, I was invited to dinner at Justin Kotler's house with him and his wife and his family. At that dinner, he taught, and Kat was with me. We were there having dinner, and they approached Kat and I with a question. If given the opportunity to coach Ricky Garrard, would it make sense to do so? And it was a very tough decision for Justin to make. And what I learned that night is he was actually approached by Ricky to be a coach. And if you remember, he's coming off a 4-year suspension for PEDs. He was trying to rebuild an image. And it was a difficult decision to say, do I take this person on? And at the time, Justin was coaching Bethany, Danielle, and Carrie, as well as a handful of others. And they had just swept the West Coast Classic. Those 3 women took first, second, and third at that semifinal that year. So Justin is at the top of his game. Ricky comes to him and asks him to be his coach, and he has to make that decision with all the baggage that Ricky brought to the table. He makes that decision to take on Ricky. And since then, when Ricky has been healthy, he has podiumed at the games. He has won Wadapalooza. He has done all those things. What I find infuriating is now it seems, and this is not official, this is just the barbell spin putting this out. We have heard nothing from Ricky. So if he is not leaving underdogs, then all of this is moot. But if he leaves underdogs and you have a person that stuck their neck out for you when you were at your lowest, trying to come back and rebuild your image in the sport, and you did so, you and him put together a package where you came in and you were successful and you finished second at the games. You podiumed, you won Wadapalooza twice. You've done all these things. The only times you have not performed well are when you decided to go mountain biking, jump off a ramp and break your collarbone, shoulder, whatever it was. Or when you were doing Chad, came off the box, turned your ankle, and it forced you to change the way you could perform through the rest of the games. Now you're deciding to go with another camp, if the rumors are true, to Proven. Now I get it. Tia is in Australia right now. You get to train with her there. Jay Crouch, Maddie Sturt. It's a pretty good training situation there. But what Justin has not failed you in anything. And I posted my feelings to the to the post, and I'll show that real quick because someone responded, and I have this platform, so I'm going to respond back. And so you can see here's my, when you're at your lowest and people help lift you up, your answer should not be to turn your back on that person. If true, no longer a fan. So one of the responses was, Clydesdale Media, change is not always bad. A change of scenery, training with the GOAT could be a great opportunity. Wouldn't call it turning your back on someone, called growth. I don't know how this is growth. You have been completely successful when healthy with Justin Cotler. And what athlete has gone to train with Tia other than Matt Frazier, who was already successful before he went there? What other athlete that has gone to train with Tia, been successful, or gotten to a point where Ricky wants to get to? Didn't work for Saxon Panchek. Didn't work for Brooke Wells. You name the athletes, they have not done well once they have gone and worked out with Proven. So I don't know. I'm just at a loss. I know that in this world today, loyalty is not what it used to be. My dad worked at the same company for 40 plus years. That just isn't even heard of today, right? We bounce from the best opportunity for ourselves, and maybe that's what he feels like he's doing. But it just seems like when someone took a chance on you, to walk away seems to be not a great decision. Jody said maybe Cotler increased his coaching price. I don't think it is a coaching price. I think it is a percentage of what the athlete earns, but I don't quote me on that. I think I heard that somewhere at one point. Jay Birch says Ricky might be a little too arrogant to be loyal. Judy Reed says maybe he was kicked out like DBE was. I don't think anybody could be kicked out like DBE was. And that's just because I know a little bit of the backstory there. Aaron Frazier says Jay Crouch has certainly made some big leaps in the past 2 years, but don't think he has the same potential. I wouldn't disagree with you, but I don't think that Jay trains with Tia all the time. I think that Jay and Maddie train together, and they occasionally get together to train with Tia. And I would argue that Jay was on the ascension and signed to Proven right before the 2023 CrossFit Games, where he did really well. He wasn't even with, he was signed between Torian Pro and the Games in 2023. He had that top 10 finish, barely being with Proven for a month, I think, at the time. Joey says, I hear you. Seems disingenuous on Ricky's part. And again, none of this is confirmed, so we don't know that he's actually doing this, but there is a lot of smoke around this story for sure. And Aaron comes back with, but I agree with you about loyalty. There is no loyalty in this sport. And maybe it's, I mean, loyalty has left sports a long time ago. Nobody stays with the same team from the beginning of their career to the end. In football, baseball, basketball, whatever. I mean, LeBron James has been switched teams 4 times in 3 different organizations. And he's one of the greatest players in the world. You never saw that with Michael Jordan until the end. And that's just because he probably should have retired and not come back to play. But it was weighing heavy on my mind because, and I will admit, I am good friends with Justin Cotler. I love that man. I think he is awesome. And so it's probably hitting me a little bit differently than it would if it was Kiefer or Max El-Haj or Matt Frazier or any of the other leaders of an organization. But I have a close relationship with Justin. And so for me that it just stings a little bit more is all. So So with that, that's kind of my loyalty speech with that today. I also have been kind of on this little riff about that. I read this story about how well the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight did on Netflix, and that the NFL games on Christmas Day blew up. Got 5 times the ratings of the NBA on the same day. And so the more I thought about it, and Pat Midgley helped me a lot with this, is that you have these shows on Netflix like the Physical 100. Now on Prime, you have the Mr. Beast games. You have all these like this event programming that the streaming services seem to get behind and market and make it a more popular sport or a more popular contest, whatever you want to call it. With that, I think that is an avenue that if you either the WFP or the CrossFit Games season should explore trying to get a deal with one of those streaming companies to go in and film a season where they can tell a story. You also have like the golf show on Netflix. I think it's I don't even, my brain is fried as I'm almost done with work for the week. But it has the like the golf show where you can follow the golfers through a season. It has the F1 show where you can do the same thing. Full Swing. Thank you, Anderson. The F1 has a show as well. More and more sports are doing this. You could say the WFP packages a deal where you film the season itself in addition to the athletes prepping. You have the 20 males and 20 females that you know are participating in every event, and then you have some challengers that you can kind of shoot in there as well, that I think would make amazing storytelling and would be an awesome way to look at different ways of a revenue source in addition to better coverage and a different coverage. We've been talking on the show forever that the same broadcasting group gets the job for the CrossFit Games every year, and all the big events, and nothing has changed with the coverage of the sports. You get the same angles, you get the same close-ups, you get like all that stuff. Wouldn't it be cool to have someone like a Netflix production company to come in, look at it and film it from a different perspective and a different angle and a different, just to see what's possible. Jay Birch says, is there enough money in the ecosystem to do that? Well, WFP is touting $15 million and that they have other investors available. If you can sell it as a storyline, then maybe the production company helps with the cost of that so that they have a show to broadcast. Andrew Sten says, not sure the sport has the personalities for something like that, but something different needs to be done. I disagree. I think that they do have the personalities to do that. And we've seen it with some of the alternative coverages that have happened over the last 2 years, with Savon doing the semifinals, with Taylor versus the world on that, with the Kill Taylor. I think you have personalities throughout the sport that are willing to talk smack, that are willing to let you in, that are willing to do all these things. They just need to be given the opportunity to do so. All that media that used to do that has gone away. And except for, in fairness, Be Friendly and Savon, who have gone out and done alternative coverages, that's where things are. If you got someone professional like a Prime or a Netflix or somebody like that to do something very similar, I think it could be sold to them, especially in the WFP format that makes the season a very condensed and easily understood season. And I think that is key to that. Where CrossFit has a drawback is nobody knows what these in-person semifinals are. Are they regionally based? Are they not regionally based? We have that in addition to an online version of it. So the CrossFit game season is a whole bunch of if then else statements. If you've ever worked in IT, that seems to be where we're going, where the WFP is go to this event, earn points, go to this event, earn points, top 30 go to this event and earn double points to see what the leaderboard is at the end of the year. Andrew Sten asks, is the sport too small or niche for it to work? F1 and PGA are huge and have been around for a very long time. There are shows like the Physical 100 that have been hugely successful on Netflix, that are even more niche than what CrossFit is. And people tune into that all the time. I think if you tell the story correctly and you get interest in some of the characters, just like Savon, nobody knew who Taylor Self was before all of this stuff. Savon took him, told his story, which is fascinating, and he had an ability to be the underdog who could come up and beat people. Colton Mertens is the ultimate underdog, where we now know his complete backstory. And when you tell that story, now you have someone to root for. And it's even cooler when you find those people in the challengers who are trying to get and gain the pro card and get into that top 20 so that they have a contract the next year. Everybody loves the underdog story. If you do good storytelling, it can be successful. And the other thing, all these shows that Netflix puts on, they put their own marketing arm behind it and push it. You don't, and right now the way it's done is we lazily just throw it up on YouTube and hope people come to watch it. This way, you throw it up on Netflix or Prime and let them do the hard work of marketing it and getting people to come watch it. Pat Midgley says, Andrew, maybe, but a show like this, if a big streaming service bought it and produced it, would take it to a new level. And I agree. Now, again, I think the WFP and the way it's organized makes more sense at this point to do this. But if you can do it as a proof of concept, I think it's definitely doable. Chris Beesterfield says 10 years too late. It probably is, but better late than never. If they would have done something like this in 2017 or 2018, I think that the streaming services would jump at the chance. But in all seriousness, the streaming services didn't know the effect of event programming until the last couple years. They're the ones that I'm reading the articles on that are going, they're looking for event programming because they're finding that it is cheaper to produce than original movies and TV shows, and it's pulling in massive ratings for best bang for the buck. So that's where I'm getting this idea, as I've been reading some of the business sections of different newspapers and online places over the last few days, talking about how the big streaming companies are looking for event programming. It's just cheaper to produce and it's more bang for the buck on a ratings scale. So that's where I've kind of dove down this rabbit hole over, and it really happened. This all came out after the NFL was on Netflix on Christmas Day. And then everybody's talking about, with the boom of event programming, that's what the streaming services are going to be looking for. So yeah. So Philip, I would say you could rewind and check it out, or that we're talking about instead of CrossFit or the WFP going after ESPN or CBS as a broadcasting partner, go after a streaming service that's going to do more to market your brand than CBS or ESPN. We talked last night, I think it was, or yesterday afternoon, that CBS aired Rogue over the weekend, and none of us even knew it. Some of us accidentally came across it. So CBS did not even promote it, didn't announce that it was going to be on. And so I think it would be better to partner with a streaming service who are going to market their shows, especially their original shows, on the services. That's all. It's just been a rabbit hole I've dove down and have just been excited to talk about. So there's that. I want to finish up with a couple things, and then we'll be back tomorrow for kind of a year-end podcast show. And so what I'm going to finish with is Dave's Week in Review came out last night while we were on the air. Good point, Corey. Neither did Rogue, for that matter. I caught it at the bowling alley, for Christ's sake. Yep. So Dave's Week in Review came out last night. It appears that he is really just dipping his toe in the water, getting back into these Week in Reviews. The first one was only 3 minutes long. The second one is about 4 minutes long. Last night, I had a really hard time hearing him. He wasn't using a mic. He was outside, but he really just talked about going to Greg Glassman's to hear a new presentation he's giving as part of the Broken Science Initiative. But he hasn't really got into any kind of game stuff, any kind of competitive CrossFit stuff in his first 2 weeks. And I know he said he's just trying to get the muscle memory back. So hopefully over the next few weeks, we'll start learning a little bit more about those things, which he did kind of address at the end of this, that stuff would be coming. But he's doing a lot of traveling in addition to that this week. So hopefully get another one next week, and we start getting a little bit more news out of those weekend reviews. So tomorrow's show, I'm going to do like some year-end podcast stuff, like my favorite shows. I'm going to count down my top 10 shows of the year, things like that. But what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to share a couple of my favorite moments for the year. So I live in the land of blimps. Akron, Ohio is just about an hour and a half away. And that is where the Goodyear blimps are housed. And what's great, my house is right in the flight path to Ohio State. So every time there's a big game at Ohio State, the blimp flies right over top of my house. And that'd be cool. Big Clydesdale Media logo on the side of the blimp. That'd be fun. If we're dreaming. Oh, you want it to be CrossFit blimp. Oh, I want it to be a Clydesdale blimp. Yeah, Kenneth, I'm in the blimp belt. That's where I am. So these are two shows or two things that happened this year that I was really, one is just my favorite show that I did this year. And it's not like full on CrossFit, so I wanted to share it today. I won't put it in my top 10. But one of the shows that was my favorite this year was I had come across a story about a woman who was a really good swimmer, had made it to the Olympic trials in, I think, 2016. She retired from swimming. She started doing CrossFit. She added 1 day of swimming back into her routine, did a couple meets, and accidentally qualified for the Olympic trials, but by primarily doing CrossFit. And so I reached out to her. I got to know her. And that is my episode with Kaitlyn Johnson. And I'm going to share a screenshot of that right now. So this was our episode with Kaitlyn Johnson. This was done back before semifinals, I believe. But this is her picture of her at the Olympic trials. And I'll just play. The funny thing about this story is that I reached out to her, not really knowing a lot about her history. And then when I reach out to an athlete or a guest, then I do a deep dive research thing into them so that I am prepared when they come on. Come to find out, she grew up in Western Pennsylvania, just like I did. She went to the college where when I was a swimmer in high school, had private lessons, and we had some of the same coaches. So we got to share a lot of experiences in this interview about the people that taught us how to swim. And I'm just going to play a little snippet for you, not too much, but CrossFit and yet so swimming, because you've got the big swimming thing behind you, but you're doing the CrossFit handstand to get your picture outside of Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yeah, my friends were real troopers. I was like, guys, I need to take this picture. Like, bear with me here. We got to get the perfect picture here. So I had like 3 friends, like take all kinds of pictures, trying to get the best one for me. So
yeah, got all the angles.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool. And then let's get into your swimming career so people know like how good you were. So that's just a little snippet from it. We go on to talk that you grew up in Western Pennsylvania, that we had the same coaches, and it was really a fun interview and kind of fun for me to go back and kind of relive some of my swimming days with her and sharing the same coaches, and it just was fun. And we both ended up going to the same college at some point. I'm much older than she is, so I was there way earlier. But we talked about like restaurants and stuff and things that we would do in that town. And it's a little Division II school. And the funny thing was that my dream was to swim for that school. They had won like 10 straight national championships as a Division II school. And I wanted to swim for them. And I was not good enough to make their team. I ended up swimming. I was recruited by some Division I schools, and I ended up walking on at Ohio State, and I swam for Ohio State for a brief amount of time. But I was not good enough to swim for this Division II school. She was there. She won she was as many championships as you could win. She did. She was that good at that Division II level. And she ended up winning. She's in the Hall of Fame at the school now. She's a lot of cool things with her. But she also competes in CrossFit now. And so she's competed at Wadapalooza. She's competed at different big events, TFX, things like that. But she moved since this interview to Austin, Texas, and is training down there now. But yeah, super fun interview. Kenneth says it's episode 894. I think I'm going to take his word on that because I do not know for sure. Let me go to the beginning here and see. Dang, I don't know. It is 894. Good call, Kenneth. You are the man. You're the man. Judy Reed. I can't do it. I went to Ohio State for a brief amount of time. My experience there was not awesome. And it's a Penn State day for me. It's Penn State day. Can't do it. I know that you are loyal to your Buckeyes. Your son is there. They play tomorrow against the number 1 team in the country. That's going to be an awesome game. Can't wait to see that as well. But yeah. So Kaitlyn Johnson was my favorite interview of the year, really just for personal reasons, not for CrossFit reasons, but I wanted to just share that. And then my favorite thing of the year was the 11-part documentary I did at the Masters CrossFit Games. This was a labor of love. This took 11 weeks to get through, to build, and huge thanks to Jonathan Ortega for editing all of the workout videos in the middle of these. Thank you to Ellie Hiller for getting the interviews with me. But then it was editing it all together. And even reliving it through the editing process was awesome. This is the favorite thing that I've ever done from a work perspective in my life. Holly was awesome with the graphics, and she is not biased at all. She said it turned out so well. It is literally the most favorite thing I've ever done with this channel. In addition to my whole working life, I've never been prouder of anything that I've done, and this was just a blast. And I hope I get to do something similar to that this year once we know more about the structure of the season. But dang. And then Kaitlyn Walters as well. She was also a videographer for me. So I don't want to leave her out either. So Kaitlyn Walters, Jonathan Ortega, Holly Dugan, Ellie Hiller, that team put this together. And I am so proud of each and every one of you because this is by far my favorite thing that I have ever done. Kenneth is asking who's number one. Well, you have to tune in tomorrow. Oh, number one in the country. That's Oregon. Oregon. I thought you meant number one show that I'm going to be revealing tomorrow, and I wasn't giving you a sneak peek. So those are two of my favorite things from the year, and that's just a preview of kind of what we'll talk about tomorrow. Rogue is going back to Aberdeen, Scotland, October 31st to November 2nd, just announced. Barbell Spin did the background check on the hotels in Aberdeen and kind of leaked this early. So apparently Rogue has announced it officially now. Clock, how is it possible Oregon's first game is against OSU? Certainly one of the top three teams in the bracket, but Penn State gets to skate into the semis playing SMU and Boise State. I think that the first year of the college football playoff is flawed in so many ways. I think that the conference champions getting automatic bye will be done after this season because now you see that the seeding is not right. They should get, if you win the conference, you should get in, but not necessarily a bye and into the second round. And I think that's why we had blowouts in the first round, because you had teams like Penn State and Texas that may have been in the top four and really should have gotten a bye. And then let the other teams kind of scrap it out to get to the Elite Eight and then take on the teams that should be ranked in the top four. Yeah. But I will say, as a Penn State fan, I'm not mad today that we get to take on Boise State instead of Oregon. I will say that. And I'm not mad that Ohio State and Oregon have to play and one of them will be knocked out before the national championship game. Not mad about that. So just saying. So with that, check in tomorrow. I'll be counting down my top 10 shows of the year and revealing those to you guys. And if anything pops up news-wise, of course, we'll talk about that as well. But what I want to tell you guys is I appreciate your loyalty to the show and the way you guys always show up. And if you weren't here for the beginning, that is that is what we talked about off the top in the Ricky Garrard situation. But I love that you guys are loyal to the show and that you come in and hang out every day. These lunch hour shows have been awesome to just kind of sit back, chat, no real format, no real prep, just kind of talking into a microphone and answering your questions or showing your statements and responding to that. It's been a blast. You guys are awesome. And Judy Reed is mad about OSU and Oregon having to play each other. And Holly, I think nowhere near a championship, but we finally won a bowl game. And if you don't know, Holly is a graduate or an attendee of University of Nebraska, the Cornhuskers, and they've had a rough couple years. So yeah, winning a bowl game for them is probably pretty cool. With that, guys, as always, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you today. We'll be back tomorrow for my birthday as we count down my top favorite shows of the year. And yeah, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? We will. We'll see you guys all then. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.